This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have a couple of lovely neighbors on with us, and that is Gabby and Kerry from the Samaritan House. How are you ladies doing today?
Awesome. Thanks for asking.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Super happy to have you on the show. Let's dive right into it and let the listeners know a little bit about who you guys are and what the charity is all about.
Yeah, well, our charity is called Samaritan House, and we're an agency that helps women and children escaping or recovering from domestic violence, and we offer transitional housing. Our program is actually broken down into three sort of areas, and one is the programming aspect, which is really great because it's unique. We have a goal setting portion of it and life skills. So we really talk about one-on-one things with our clients, like what red flags to look for in relationships, building healthy relationships, building the cycle, breaking the cycle, of violence, because there is a cycle involved there. Setting boundaries, learning how to deal with conflicts, and really important, building self-esteem back up in these ladies' lives. But we also focus on goal setting, which is, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Even if it's a little step every day towards something. But we help them realize whether they want to go back to work, whether we want to go back to school, whether just finding permanent housing is important. And then life skills, just working on budgeting, nutrition, healthy lunches for their kids, just getting through the day, banking, transportation, finding a doctor. There's so many different intricate parts involved in rebuilding lives to a sustainable and healthy way after you've been through an abusive situation. So we focus a lot on gender-based violence, but mostly on intimate partner violence. So, and also from that, we've had the needs of the clients have expanded into other services. So we do a Christmas program for the kids. We run a clothing center. So we have free clothing and household items that anybody can just come in and take what they want. So we want people in our community to be able to have what they need to just, thrive.
Yeah, that's super important. You go through something like that, it can be pretty damaging in a lot of different areas. So starting from that foundational stuff, working towards goal setting, let's get back on the right track and what do you want to accomplish, and then let's make sure that you have the skills to be able to get back to a daily routine, a weekly routine, stuff that'll work towards helping to get your goals, and then let's work on getting you up on your feet.
Yeah, and it's really great because it's unique. Like every single client has different programs based on what their needs are. So it's important at the beginning to identify that, and then we adjust it as we go along based on what new needs might come up that weren't even known at the time. So it's really important to be open and communicating and, work with them.
So something happens in, this is primarily women, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and their children.
So something happens in a woman's life, they're going through this abusive relationship. What are some things that a woman could, would need to know to say, like, I got to make this call? How would they know who to make that call to? And how are, other than, you guys are doing what you're doing, obviously coming on the podcast so we can get this message out.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some women that are listening to the show that, what are some cues? And it's like, hey, I might be going through this.
Yeah.
So it would be important for me to navigate my way this way, so we can help them, on that.
And it's really, really hard for the women in this situation because it's not like it's something that just happens today and whatever. It's usually a gradual process in their lives. Oftentimes, We get women who have been in like controlling situations since they were like teenagers, kind of thing. And it comes on a little bit at a time where they're, you know, isolated from their families a bit, so they're not getting the support systems. They're you know, spoken down to, like abusive um emotional things, so they're made to feel like they're not worthy. So oftentimes that's the issue for seeking help. And the other thing is they don't always have somewhere to go or know where to go. So for the most part, it's word of mouth, and it's getting the word out so that people know where to direct a friend or a family member who they find in this situation, or if they find themselves in this situation. So the first place that most people try and reach out to is the women's shelter, but they're so overwhelmed that doesn't always have an opportunity. Plus, it's a temporary thing. So it's really hard. Where do you go after that? You know, so it's hard to make that life-changing move. So you need programs like ours that are, it's not permanent. It could be 9 to 18 months to 2 years, depending on each client. But we help them dig down, come in, stay with us at a very reasonable cost. So they have housing and they have the supports of us being there to work with them, to help them through the issues, to build their self-esteem, give them confidence, and find a future plan for themselves and their children. So it's not like in a shelter for 3 months or so, and then you have to find somewhere to live and work kind of thing. So it's a much more gradual, it's time consuming though. So that's where we have issues with funding, because the funders, you know, they want to see results and numbers. Ours are longer term programs, but we have sustainable results where their lives are changed and they can support themselves and get off of the system, off of Ontario Works and things like that, and be able to support themselves. So it really is important to spend that extra time, but it makes it harder for us to get funding because our numbers are much lower.
It's a great thing that you ladies are doing out there. Certainly believe in helping out for that. Like we were just talking about our Super Soaker event. We did support the Barrie and Women and Barrie Women and Children's Shelter. So
Yeah,
all behind what you ladies are doing.
Can't do it without the shelter. They're amazing, and they've got the facility there and the support staff there, and it's just amazing. And you know, and we work a lot with the shelter, so we are able to take some of the clients when they're ready to leave the shelter, then we can go into the next phase of rebuilding their lives. So we work together as a team.
Would you say they would be the first step, or can women come to your?
They can come to us directly, but however, we are in individual homes in the community, so we only have so many spaces available, and because our clients stay longer term, we don't always have openings as often as a shelter would. So shelter is definitely probably the first step.
Okay.
They can definitely check with us, and we keep a wait list, and we would contact them as soon as something would come available.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the two ladies who are behind the charity. Talk a little bit about their journeys, as one of my favorite questions to be able to ask, because everybody's got a bit of a journey. And maybe Kerry, I'll ask you this one first, but what was your journey like leading up to doing what you're doing today?
Well, I mean, it goes way back, and I never really thought I would be where I am. I had different plans. I always wanted to be a teacher and work with kids and things like that. But life brings you on different journeys. And I know with me, I experienced, I experienced a sexual abuse, and I was stalked when I was a young teenager and a young adult. And I shouldn't say sexual abuse. It was more sexual harassment. And it was from a manager, a person of authority in my workplace. And so it made it difficult going to work every day and things like that. But on the flip side, I was also always, my friends used to call me Dear Abby, because I was always the person that people would come to get help with anything. And I had a lot of empathy. And so I sort of had that combination of life experience and helping people. But I always directed it towards kids and everything. And throughout my lifetime, I learned, a lot of the stats on what women experience, and that I wasn't the only one. And it's quite common that most people in their most women in their lives experience at least one form of sexual harassment at some point in their lives. So that sort of hit me pretty hard. And approximately one woman every 6 days in Canada is killed from intimate partner violence. So learning this stuff as I worked in business, the business side of things, and learning this stuff over time. Eventually I had an opportunity to step into the role. First I was the program provider at Samaritan House. So I jumped into that role because I thought with the empathy, with the experience I have helping my family, helping friends, and also going through some of that experience lived, that might be a good spot for me. So I tried it out for a while, and then eventually became executive director. But that doesn't mean I'm overseeing everything and whatever. I'm right in there as well. So here I am all these years later, and it's the right fit for sure. And I love being able to help and be able to have the compassion because I've lived that experience, and be able to understand and, work with the clients. So that's how I got here.
That's important for somebody who goes through something traumatic like that, and they can have that level of support of somebody who's, unfortunately had similar experiences, but that can relate to another human being. That goes a long way to helping somebody feel comfortable and saying, hey, you're not the only one who's going through this, but we're here to help you through it.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Gabby? What was your experience like leading up to doing what you're doing today?
Well, much like Kerry, I didn't really expect myself to be here either. Not gonna lie, the whole social work aspect when I was in high school, kind of trying to figure out my life, I didn't really know what it was. I just kind of knew I wanted to help people. A lot like Kerry, I was kind of always the girl that people would tell their, struggles to or open up to. And I actually had a pretty close friend of mine who was in an abusive relationship at the time. I didn't really know too much about in terms of coping or like actually having to help her. So all I could do was support. And actually it was my grade 12 law teacher. I was kind of in that, crazy mind space most grade 12s go through, where they're like, what do I want to do with my life? And I went to my law teacher, my grade 12 law teacher. Shout out Miss Thompson, you're the best. I was kind of telling her about my situation. I was like, I've helped a few of my girlfriends out through a few things, and I just know I want to help people, and I don't really know what to do with that or where to start. And she kind of introduced me to the world of social work, the world of social service work, and actually told me about the social service worker program. And so I did look into it, and, there was a few hiccups along the way that I'll talk about later, but I ended up taking it at Georgian College. And then I actually did my placement here at Samaritan House with Kerry, and she was my monitor. And I saw the potential. It's such a small organization, but I saw the potential, and I'm really passionate and I love what they do. So I really put my whole foot in the door, and whether she liked it or not, I was given all my ideas, and luckily it worked out. And once I graduated, I got the call from Kerry asking if I wanted to come on and be a staff member, and I've been the fundraising and media coordinator ever since, and it's like my baby now. I love and I'm very passionate just about getting our name out there and, letting people know about what we do.
And she's awesome.
Very, very cool. Yeah, had the pleasure of spending some time with Gabby out at some networking events and stuff like that. So I'll second that motion as well. All right, let's talk about misconceptions. Really love this part because, knowledge is power. People don't know what they don't know. And sometimes somebody can look at something just by looking at it and make false assumptions, or they can hear word of mouth that's not true, because we all know what the telephone game is like.
For sure.
And so giving an opportunity to be able to clear the air on some of this stuff, we feel like is super important. So can you tell us if there's any myths or misconceptions that you hear about in your business?
Yeah.
There's so many. So many.
Yeah.
A big one that we hear is that if a woman's or anybody is in an abusive relationship, they can just leave. That is just leave the relationship. Unfortunately, it's not that easy to and it shocks a lot of people, but honestly, when it's a woman or a man, whoever's in the abusive situation, when it's their time to leave, it's probably the most dangerous part of the entire relationship. And, in these relationships, a lot of them, they face financial dependence. They have no independence financially whatsoever, no control over their accounts or anything. If they have children, custody concerns are always huge. That's usually a big factor on why people will stay in the relationship, is for the children. They don't want to, traumatize
just where to
them.
live.
Exactly.
Where are you gonna live?
Yeah. And, threats by the partner, by the abuser, if you do leave, I'm going to kill you type of thing. So it's scary. It's not that easy to do. And just in Canada alone, nearly 6 times more likely to be killed by a former partner or an abuser than just living together. So with those stats, it's really scary. And
well, there other things too is that one big misconception is that sexual assault occurs by strangers. That's so wrong. I mean, of course that does happen, but the majority are done by people somebody in your family or intimate partner or a family member. And another misconception is that survivors are responsible for what happens to them, that they were being provocative or they dressed where they were looking for it, or had too much to drink, so it's their fault. So those types of things are definite misconceptions. And, like Gabby says, being able to leave, like there's 3,400 women and children every night looking or staying in shelters across Canada. And at least minimum 300 a night are being turned away for lack of space. So it's not so easy to leave. You can't just leave. And all the factors that Gabby mentioned, and like, where do you go? The wait lists are this long everywhere. So, you have to get somebody moved out so somebody else can come in, kind of thing, right? And finally, also bigger, stronger people are the ones that are abusive. That is so not true. What they're looking for is power. It's about power. It's not about physical, like the power and control over a person is what happens.
It's all psychological. Psychological abuse is the most common form of abuse. So it's another misconception.
It touches in many different areas. Like there's sexual, there's financial, there's emotional, there's physical, there's so many different aspects of abuse, and they all sort of intertwine. You may not have all of those happening, but emotional and psychological abuse is very hard to overcome, because you feel like you're not yourself, and you don't really know who you are, and you don't know how to what's right. You don't have the self-esteem. You're knocked down to nothing. So it's really hard. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there. It's not strangers, and it's not big strong guys, and things like that.
It's anybody.
Yeah, I could relate to that. I had 2 relationships prior to, obviously married to the lovely Julie, but before
the best.
Before I met her, there's 2 relationships I had back to back. They were both about 9 and a year and a half. I think we're both the timelines. And psychological and verbal abuse. It's just not, you're always there to give, and they're always on the take, and just gets to a point where you're not valued in what you do. There's a lot of bossing around and a lot of verbal abuse going on. And fortunately enough, I'm a big, strong guy, so I had the opportunity to be able to make that decision, but still didn't come lightly. And trying to figure out how to do it. How do you do it with the least amount of collateral that's going to come from it? There's going to be some screaming and yelling that's going to come along with that, and trying to do it in the best way. The second time, I had a friend with me that was there, just to I'm committing to doing this, so I don't go back on my word. Here's the plan of what I'm doing for the rest of the day, and I had to outline a plan on how to do it. So, and that because that person was also living with me at the time, so.
That's awesome. You were able to do that. And, that's really important to mention because it's not talked about enough, but there are men in the same situation and people don't even think about that. There's a lot of men, and we get men coming into our clothing center with their stories too. But unfortunately, there isn't enough supports out there for men, and men also don't want to verbalize it and tell people about it as much as women will, right? So it's an area that's lacking, but it's very important. And we have to understand that it does happen to men as well. Even physical abuse happens to men too. So I'm glad you brought that subject up.
So for people who are going through, these, let's call them tough times, right? Things are unfortunately happening to them by another individual or individuals, and there's capacity issues clearly that's out there. Is there any resource place that we point people to try to up the knowledge base so that they at least can try to move in some form of direction without feeling like they're just spinning their tires in the mud and that they're stuck?
There's not a lot out there for just resources, which is very unfortunate. I mean, each agency sort of has their own set of resources that they can provide. I know we do a lot of referring to other agencies because we don't have mental health support here. We don't, there's certain different things. So we know what we're capable of, and then we refer our clients out to other places in the community. But there isn't just one place that I know of. But I do want to just sort of mention quickly that we are trying to pay attention to this. And our agency is really at the baby stages of understanding that we have to hit the causes of this instead of putting Band-Aids and fixing these things after they happen. So we're looking to a lot of preventative stuff. And what we are hoping to do, we've been working on a little course thing, and we're hoping to present it to the high schools and stuff and get into younger people and help them understand healthy relationships and boundaries and what are the red flags to look for. And so the abuser can understand if they're just following a pattern that happens in their home, and just copying their parents and being abusive or something like that. And maybe it will alert them. And also the people who are in relationships with boyfriend, girlfriends in high school can understand, hey, that's not what every relationship goes through. I need to take a step back here. And, so we're really focusing on prevention. So hopefully that can open the eyes to resources in the community for younger people coming up and starting out in these relationships. So we're really hoping to get that up and running because I think prevention is key.
Early intervention.
And that will include resources for younger people to be able to go to. So hopefully we can sort of get the ball rolling.
It's a great initiative.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about fun for change of pace. A lot of times when we're really passionate about what we do, we can dump a lot of time into it because it doesn't really feel like work, right? So there's time spent at work and working on a business or in a business and working late nights and working evenings and sometimes weekends. but life is not just about work. There's a bit of I think balance is the wrong word, because that means that everything's equal. Was more of a harmony would be, I think, more of an appropriate word for that. So when you ladies are not out there helping women and men and women and children in need through what they're going on and some traumatic times in their lives, outside of that, Kerry, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, thanks for asking that, because burnout is huge in this type of work. And in my situation, we don't have, shifts of staff and stuff like that. So I'll get a call at 2 a.m. from the police asking if we have a room for a lady or something like that. So it doesn't really turn off. So it's really important to be able to, I call it compartmentalizing, take my work and say, I'm not doing that right now. And, totally focus and be mindful of stuff that's going to make me feel better, and not be stressed and worried all the time, and not get to that burnout point, because it can happen very easily. And every single staff I've brought in has, I've had to talk to them about it, because they want to do this, they want to do that. And they're saying, last night he did that. And I'm like, no, you went home last night. Your home time is your home time, unless it's an emergency. You need to take time for you. That's one of the hardest things to do, is to separate those two things. But personally for me, I love going on hikes, just being in nature and stuff like that. And I love kayaking. So I just get out there in the kayak, hear the water. It's, really, really, really great. And then, wintertime and that, I love to cuddle and under my blankets and have a really good book. I love reading, and it takes me into another world, temporarily. And I'm one of these people, I have 3 books going at the same time, depending what mood I'm in, right? So I have a book for everything. But family time, campfires in the yard or whatever. I have a big family, and we just love being together, and there's nothing like family. So just that kind of stuff for me is soothing.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on the whole burnout thing. Sorry, I know you were going to speak.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about how important like self-care is, and how, we're so prone to burnout. Like self-care, I know we're talking about stuff that we love to do for fun in our self-care, but I just do want to put it out there, like for anyone maybe listening and they maybe hear ours and are like, oh, I don't do that, so I'm not practicing self-care. Self-care is not like putting on a face mask and going in the bubble bath every single night. Like self-care can just be like, sometimes if I don't have time to do the stuff I want to do for fun, I clean out my car. I literally take the garbage out and I clean out my car. Or I take a shower. Or I clean up my desk, and I immediately feel better. So it is those small things, and those small kind of victories that can be, considered self-care. So if whoever's listening doesn't have like a big tradition or type of thing, then that's okay. It's little things that.
And I've always said, I'd say to students or staff or my family, it's like, sometimes you just need to have that day where you don't open the curtains, you put the TV on, you stay in your pajamas, you eat all the chips you want to eat, you put on old movies or whatever. You don't answer the phone, whatever, and you just veg, and you just have downtime, alone time, do whatever you want to do. But tomorrow you get back into life. But you need to take that time and allow yourself to regenerate. And, don't have a shower, do whatever, but tomorrow you wake up and you start living again. You don't stay there. But I think everybody needs that downtime.
100%. So Gabby, you talked about cleaning the car and stuff like that. Is that it?
Not what I do for fun.
What do you do for fun?
That's like bottom of the barrel. No, I don't find that very fun. But if I need to pick a small little pick me up and grab a coffee, then I'll do it to feel better. But in terms of stuff that I like to do for fun, I have a huge passion for cats. I love cats. I volunteer at a cat shelter once a week, and not only do I feel like it's more rewarding as well because I'm helping socialize all these cats, it's a really nice, not escape, I don't know the right terminology, but
Soothes
it's
the soul.
yeah, it's therapeutic. Like like
Yeah.
having a cat sit on your lap
My
and purr
dog too.
away.
It's the same. It's
Yeah, having a cat just purr on your lap and, just have nothing else going on and there's no one else at the shelter. It's a good way for me to reflect, do some self-reflection and but I also do like to be very active. I play baseball, a women's baseball league, and I play soccer in the summertime. I have 3 brothers, so we all play on the same team together and
Cool.
just dominate the whole league. We didn't win this year, but yeah. And then I also like playing video games. My boyfriend and I have been playing a lot of Minecraft, or we're big into Pokemon. I'm a big Pokemon fan.
I just beat so my good buddy Brody.
Yeah.
So he put an emulator on my computer, and it's only when we could get together on weekends. It took us 6 months of having, a full day or whatever to get, because we'd only do it in person. So he played Fire Red. No, he played Leaf Green. I played Fire Red, and we
Nice.
just beat it. We just beat it like 3 weeks ago.
Nice. Well, if you get I know the new game's coming out in November, I think. I'm pumped for it, but I just played Scarlet and Violet. We played it last year when it came out, and it's like it was like a multiplayer game, so it was really fun. Obviously, just like all the other games, they have different legendaries, but okay, I need to stop talking about this. Is so nerdy, but
It's all good. I have my non-negotiable, right? My non-negotiable is Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
I video game on Tuesday nights. I'm a big nerd. I like to video game, and there's nothing wrong with it. Back in the day, like I've been playing World of Warcraft on and off since like 2007.
Yeah.
But like when I was in university, you'd never tell anybody that, let alone I'm telling the world that on a podcast right now.
Oh no, for sure.
Because how people used to view it, and the word addiction would be thrown in there.
Yeah.
And the world is learning about a lot of different things. And like Kerry just said, I like to read books because it's my escape to take my mind off of things. And as what we learn what self-care is and how certain things are and work different for different people. It's like whatever your thing is, man. If that's going kayaking, then that's cool. Go kayak. If it's playing World of Warcraft with your friends on a Tuesday night, then great. Right.
my telescope too. I love that.
Right. If it's playing, the new Pokemon or Minecraft with your boyfriend, then that's the thing. So there's never any, in my mind, embarrassment or whatever, because that's what it is. And that's a norm. Like I wear a hat backwards on a podcast. I actually go to client meetings with my hat backwards now, where it's like 10 years ago, you'd be scolded for doing that. You'd have to be all dressed prim and proper. And like, look, the world isn't what it is anymore. And I think there's much more of a normal acceptance towards a lot of these things. And I don't know about you ladies, I'm taking full advantage. This is me. This is who I am. So you can judge me by what I look like, or you can judge me by what I like and what I don't like. But the second I start talking about marketing, you're going to perk right up and be like, man, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah.
That's just the nuts and bolts of it, right?
Yeah.
So be proud of what you like to do for your thing, and whatever works for you, let it ride, because that's what's going to recharge your battery. That's what's going to allow you, like what Kerry was saying, do what you need to do for that day, whatever your thing. If it's munching on chips and not taking a shower that day, closing the blinds and binging Netflix all day, if that's your thing and that's what recharges your battery, then that's your thing. Nothing wrong with it, as long as you're getting out and you're getting after it the next day and doing what you need to do to make the world a better place and help more people out. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, you put that perfectly.
Yeah. And not feel guilty about anything you're doing. You just allow yourself that time.
100%.
Just random question, but what starter did you pick?
In WoW?
Yeah.
Or in
the red.
In red, I picked Squirrel this time.
Oh yeah. Okay, good choice.
Oh yeah, me too.
I've always picked Charizard for like way too long, and then I went on another couple of replays where I was picking Bulbasaur, and then building a team around that. And I've never really picked water as like my main go-to. And I can tell you, it was an amazing pick because he's a tank.
He's goated. He's so good.
Yeah, and you can build. I built it really based off of my fire, and in that game you can pick Growlithe, which eventually gets to our Arcanite.
Yeah.
So and he's very, very strong, and he's super fast, and he can learn Dig. So
yeah, which is insane. Sorry, Kerry.
Yeah, there's the Pokemon nerding out.
I'm from buying the Pokemon cards for my boys when they were little, so I'm way back then.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. All right, let's go to switch it over to a little bit more of on a serious note.
Yeah.
In life, we walk the path of life, and there are things that happen that are not always in our control. And sometimes those are life challenges, sometimes they're obstacles, sometimes they're tragedies, sometimes these things happen more to certain people than others. It's just a part of life, but we have to move forward. Things evolve. We evolve and have been evolving as a species. Time keeps moving forward. The world's not going to stop, at least for the near future, going around and around, and the sun is always going to set the next day. So we have to move forward with some of these things, and it's always that perspective, right? It's like, how do we move past these things? How do we grow from this? As a species, we learn from failing. That's why that saying, if you're going to fail forward. And then other times it's just stuff that's outside of our control, but being able to have that right mindset, right? And being able to see the glass half full, and then learning from these things so that we don't fall into this downward negative spiral, but that we can move forward from things that happen in life. So I wanted to ask you if there's anything, maybe we'll start with you, Gabby. Can you describe maybe like a hardship, a life challenge, maybe that happened in your life? Were you able to overcome it? Was there any silver linings that you took from it?
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to lie, coming into this, I was very hesitant to talk about it, but after your big speech about, be proud of who you are and all the stuff you've gone through, I'm not quite so embarrassed, but it kind of has to do with how I got into the business. When I graduated in grade 12, it was 2020. So COVID had just hit at the time where everyone was applying to schools and everything. So I was on the route to do the social service work program, but I was actually going to go to Canada or in North Bay. So that was the plan. And then COVID hit and everything closed down. And like many people, I know COVID was a huge struggle for a lot of people. Mentally, it affected me very, very bad. I was very isolated and went to a very deep depression. And that really affected my sense of direction. And I questioned everything in my life. And I'm the kind of person that needs closure on certain things. So looking back and kind of hearing it now, it may not sound like a big deal, but at the time I thought it was a very big deal, not having a prom, no graduation, not getting to really say goodbye to my friends, or any form of celebration of that, milestone. I just kind of had to quickly jump right into adulthood and figure it out. And I mentally wasn't there yet to do that. So when I was going through that, I ended up just dropping out before even going. I didn't have any motivation to really do anything. So I just dropped out and stayed home. And that was that. Obviously, at the time, I did feel like a big fat failure because everyone else around me knew what they were doing and were in school. And from my eyes, it looked like they all had it all figured out. But obviously, no one really has it fully figured out, I've learned. So I stayed home the year, worked a bit. And then the next year came and I'm like, okay, let's maybe try a different route, maybe direction. So I tried to do business and it was still online. So, I'm a very visual and in-person kind of learner. So I tried the online thing and I failed out and ended up dropping out again. And that was my second failure in terms of post-secondary. And you know what? At that point, I was so hopeless. I was like, I don't even think school's for me. Like post-secondary, I don't think I have any potential in that regard. So I'm just gonna like see what happens and just work, and maybe that's all I'm meant to do in life. So is work at Starbucks or Tim Hortons. No hate to them. They were great, both jobs. I just didn't feel like I had any further potential. And then it's a couple years later, I think, and everything started opening back up again, and they introduced in-person learning again. So I bless my parents. They were so supportive. My whole family was so supportive through it. And my mom kind of just suggested the idea of potentially maybe just giving it a try if things are back in person. It's worth a shot. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we're still proud of you either way. So I did enroll to the social service worker program at Georgian College. So it kind of eased a little bit of that anxiety that I was feeling of having to find a place to live. So I just went to the one in Aurelia, and I was living with my parents at the time in Aurelia. So I didn't really have to worry about commuting or finding a place to live, and I was able to save money and still work. So I did it, and I ended up loving the program. And then I ended up graduating with honors, and I'm here today. So it's really, I know it's not embarrassing, but sometimes during it felt like a terrible terrible time to go through. And but I know it did make me stronger in a lot of ways.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're not the first one. I went to university and blew 30 grand of my parents' money because I'm not a theory guy. I'm exactly like you. I'm an in-person visual. Like when we learn about marketing every day, there's a way that I learn, and Jeff learns a different way. He can read books and do this. I need to watch it over video, or I need someone else to teach it to me. So I remember when I met him, I think we were talking about it today. I told him I'm not a learner. And then now he's like, look at what you said then and who you are now. Now you're like a sponge. You're telling me we can't take breaks, that we need to keep working because you want to keep learning. It's night and day, but it's, whatever fits for you, whatever works for you. And learning about calculus and micro and macro economics in a business degree far away from home, and all I wanted to do was party and didn't have any self-discipline. Because in my opinion, you don't really figure it out until you're depends on maturity level, but 28, start in there, 30, for me, it was 30, 31. I started, I'm oh, I got my shit together.
Yeah.
Right. So some of that other stuff, you just take it with a grain of salt. And as the Tony Horton, for those who ever did beach body workouts in front of the TV, it's do your best and forget the rest. And you just keep chugging. You didn't quit. You kept going. You got your degree. Now look at you. You're all here. And
exactly.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what about you, Kerry?
Well, actually, I don't know. I had a lot of tragedy stuff happening throughout my life, with family, and looked after my dad for 15 years, and my mom with dementia, children that the one, they didn't even know if she was going to live, a bunch of different things happening, a tree fell through our house, all kinds of, it's never ending, right? I've got 4 kids, and there was always a story with them. But I think the thing that's carried on with me through my whole life, and I look back now and see how I've grown through it, is I guess extreme shyness. You'd never know it talking to me today. People say, really? I can't see that. But I couldn't talk to anybody. I was, I have intimate friends, family, that would be about it, right? I am not a social person. I'm still not a social person. I'm very uncomfortable in any social settings. My sister always wanted to go places and parties and things like that. I hate that stuff. It's not me. I'm just not comfortable. But it's just so shy. And in my business position that I had when I was younger, I was selected to be one of 3 of a team to help convert from the typewriter and the key punch machine to a system on computer. So we spent years working as a team to find out how we could make this happen and all this kind of stuff, and what we worked with the programmers and things like that. So it's all done. It's all getting ready to launch and all this kind of stuff. And I get told, because I'm the female with two men, I have to do the presentation to the CEO. And that was devastating. I was sick, like for days, and, trying to think of that. But you know what? I got through it. I did it. And from that, they told me, oh, okay, well, this stuff inside out. So now you have to teach it. Well, I always wanted to be a teacher, but to kindergartners, not to adults, right?
Yeah.
So I became the Western representative for Western Canada. And I had to go out and talk to strangers and be in front of strangers and teach them how to use this system and everything, right? And it was really hard. And then in my personal life, I had a child with a learning disability. So I had to be their advocate. So I had to confront the school. I had to work through conflicts and, find better ways and things like that, and learn stuff for myself, and whatever that meant, talking to people and dealing with issues and things like that. So anyway, I can just see steps throughout my life where my shyness sort of changed. I became confident, I think it was. Still not comfortable in social situations, but I do them. And, I now do presentations for work. I do something like this where I would have been terrified before, right? And not only that, it's funny how your life changes and how things happen, because I feel like I had to be put through all those fires to get where I am today. And one of the biggest things is I now teach at the college part-time.
Nice.
So I got to be a teacher, but I'm teaching adults, right? And I never would have believed that. So I do part-time teaching in social service work courses up at Georgian. So everything has sort of taken a turn. I never got to be a teacher. Back in the 80s, when I was applying for teachers college, there were so many people applying that it's like, not this year. And they're like, yeah, you should have everything by, you should be up the list by next year. You should be getting in. But I got a full-time job in that time. And it was like, I have a family now. Do I go back to school? Whatever. I did go back to school when I was 49, and I took gerontology at Laurentian University. And because I had senior parents and in-laws, and I wanted to learn all about seniors and, learn about policies, how to make things better for them, how they can stay at home, just how things are different when you're older, things like that. So I'm with you as far as learning. I love learning, absolutely love it. And you just keep learning. There's never an end to learning, right? But for me, I feel that shyness and gaining confidence has sort of followed me throughout my whole life. And it's brought me to where I am because of that hardship. I've had to go through the fires and become the person I am today because of the hardships. So
oftentimes that's what you hear from people. They go through hardships and come out on the other end of it. That they get a different perspective on life, and some things that seemed like they were hard, not really hard anymore, because you can always look back to like, oh, that was a lot harder than what it was. And it's a bad thing that bad things happen to people, but it's a good thing to be able to talk about it so that somebody can listen to something like this and be like, I'm having a bad day, but I'm really not having a bad day because that person had it way worse than I have. So really, I'm just chalking this up to be a lot more than it needs. And a lot of good things that come to people come from doing the thing that we don't want to do, like doing hard things. And it's the friction, right? It's human beings. We don't really want to go and do the thing because it's too hard. So what's the easiest thing to do? Our mind always tells us, like, I want less friction. I want I'm not going to do it because that's too hard. But for the people that do the hard things, they often come out on the other side being like, I learned something, or I have a better character trait, or I gained a skill from doing the thing. And, that's how we level up in life, right?
Yeah. Well, I've come up with sort of a slogan kind of thing that I say in my classes. I say to my kids, whatever, and it's sort of based on my own life and everything. And I always say, every experience is a good experience, even if it's a horrible experience, because you're going to get something out of it, even if you're not getting something out of it today. You may have lived that experience, because in 20 years from now, you may have to help somebody going through the same thing. So take whatever experience you're going through and understand there's some reason for it. And eventually, you're going to get through it. You may be able to help somebody else, or you may be able to teach somebody else, or you may become somebody else because of that experience. So every experience is a good experience, even if it's a horrible experience, so, I just really believe that.
Very well said.
Gabby, what's the one thing that you wish that people knew about the charity?
I wish that people, well, first, I wish more people knew about our charity. We're still very small, but one thing I do wish people knew, we're not just a transitional home. We have so many other programs. We're more of like a place of hope for people. We work to rebuild and ensure in our homes women, but we try and work with all of the community so that they can rebuild their lives and just thrive. And, I want people to also know that as soon as they find housing, the problem's not necessarily solved. It's, the work that we do, and it's just the beginning, and the work we do rebuilds to, gaining emotional support, financial support, and that we just work to advocate, and just our main bread and butter is to break the cycle.
Very well said. And Kerry, great conversation with the both of you. Thoroughly enjoyed that. We went the distance, almost a full hour, which is super cool.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
To, what listeners should know about the business? I just wanted to let everyone know that gender-based violence doesn't escape anyone. No matter if you haven't experienced it in your own life, everyone has mothers, sisters, daughters, female friends, female co-workers, and whether you know it or not, there's probably some type of gender-based violence issue touching somebody's life that that you may not even be aware of. So this isn't isolated incidences that you just hear about. It's really important to understand that this does affect all of us. And not only that, the money that's spent every year through government supports and different kinds of funding and things like that to take care of these problems, take care of housing, take care of these issues in hospitals and everywhere is enormous. So we need to pay attention to it. It's not just somebody else's problem, it's everybody's problem. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you said a lot of great stuff. So thanks for covering those things. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal conversation. Definitely, I know there's going to be some people that are interested in wanting to reach out, learn a little bit more about some of the programs we were talking about, maybe get to know you ladies a little bit more, or just overall about the great cause of the Samaritan House and what you're out there doing every single day in our local community. And so for those people who are interested in reaching out, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead and do that?
Well, first I want to thank you for giving us the platform to say where to find us and how to contact us. I really appreciate it. You can find us, and if you want to learn maybe a bit more about what we do or what we've got or what we've had going on the past few months, you can find us on our website, SamaritanHouseBarrie.com. Or if you want to send us a message, then Instagram, Facebook, we've got both at Samaritan House Barrie. And you can also just find us here at the Resource Center. It's 37 Burton Avenue. if you don't remember that, then it's on our website.
Yeah, because we have specific hours and stuff like that. So you'd have to check the website for our resource center portion of it.
Yeah, and the resource center is all donation based. So if you've got some clothes or small household items that you want to donate, we're here. Feel free to bring them to us, or if you want to come and check out some stuff, or if you just want to come in and have a conversation. Yeah, just want to talk some stuff out.
Our email is shbarrie@gmail.com. So if anybody wants to reach us just through email, that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
If you have questions or anything.
Yeah, and then mine's contact @shbarrie. But those are on the website. I know it's a lot to think and remember right now, but yeah.
Awesome stuff. Well, great conversation. That was a lot of fun. Wishing you ladies all the best out there. Continued success. And stick around. We'll have a conversation on the other side. And all the best.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com. Or call 705-413-3775.